Hello, 45 Alpha Charlie Papa Channel, and today we are going to take a look at my top 5 iconic American pistols or revolvers. These are designs that are just timeless. They were copied around the world, used around the world in different time periods, but they're just iconic American-made and designed guns. So at number 5 here, as you can see here, we have got the 1851 Navy. Now, why didn't I put the Walker on there, the Dragoon? I mean, those were handguns, but they were mainly for horse. I think the 1851 Navy is kind of the pinnacle of the design. This is something that actually could be carried, put on a leather holster, and carried instead of carried on horseback like those iconic other ones are. And those are iconic, but I think they all kind of accumulated into this, and this is the iconic one of the design. 1851 Navy, cap and ball, just an interesting revolver. Really was a force multiplier, allowed the user, this was to have 6 shots instead of just 1, really kind of changed things and set the ball rolling to more iconic and better designs. But at number 5, we've got the 1851. This is a Pieta replica Colt Navy. At number 4, we've got a Ruger Vaquero here. Now, it's not the Ruger Vaquero that we're interested in, but it is the single action Army. After the 1851 Navy, once Colt got the patent so that they can drill through cylinders, the single action Army became the cat's meow. I mean, we're talking, this is now a cartridge gun, loaded on the side there, single action mechanism. But a cartridge gun, much faster loading, another force multiplier when you're talking about somebody that's using a cap and ball revolver and the time it takes to reload those, to have a single contained cartridge that you can just kick out and put a new one in, much faster to load, still making single action Army copies to this day, very iconic of the Old West. But that is the single action Army. At number 3, we have got the Smith & Wesson early semi-automatic pistols. The 39 series, the 59 series. Now this is a 69 series, which is a compact version of the 59. We've seen these guns before in some of my lists, but a very iconic pistol. These were the guns that switched a lot of police officers and stuff from revolvers over to semi-automatics. They were one of the first reliable semi-automatics that could be used for duty. Originally designed for the military for the 1954 Army trials, but we had 1911s coming out our ears, and so the military in 1954 was already starting to look at replacing the 1911 with a 9mm semi-automatic. But that's kind of where the design for this came from. Like I said, a lot of police forces, a lot of government agencies went to these Smith and Wesson semi-autos, especially in the late 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, until they kind of fell out of favor with the Glocks that came in and kind of knocked them off their high horse. For a long time, the magazine in this was kind of like the Glock mag is now. I mean, other manufacturers were manufacturing semi-auto firearms and pistols that took Smith & Wesson mags. So, they're out there, just very iconic pistols. But at number 3, because they've only got a 45-year run, that's probably why they're in number 3, and we don't hear a whole lot of one now, but they're a very iconic pistol. Some of the early Sig Sauers were kind of designed off of this frame. At number 2, the iconic Smith & Wesson K-frame revolvers. Now this one's a K22, but the K-frame revolvers started right before 1900, and they are still making K-frame revolvers today. The K-frame revolvers were very synonymous on the hips of many, many police officers over the years, especially the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s. They were at the sides of the M&P officers back during the war in the 40s, 30s. They even lasted through the Depression era. I mean, 1920s, these were very iconic and very well used. You've got companies like Taurus, who has based their whole line of revolvers off Smith & Wesson. There's a little bit of a connection there, but most of the Taurus revolvers out there are built and designed off the Smith & Wesson design. I know that SAR Arms or Sarlemez over in Turkey makes a version of the K-frame, but the K-frame was just iconic. It was Americana. It was apple pie. As I said, most police officers, security guards, M&Ps, all carried mostly 38 Special K-frame Smith & Wesson revolvers, and like I said, they are still making them to this day. Just an iconic design, classic, easy to use, durable, rugged. The Smith & Wesson K-frame for a revolver, it's just kind of the pinnacle of revolvers as I'm concerned. I mean, there's others out there, but just, iconic fire revolvers, Smith & Wesson K-frame every day. All right, we are getting to the honorable mention portion of this list. Before we get to number one, and you have probably figured that one out by now, but honorable mention is just basically an extension of number two in the Smith & Wesson K-frame, and that would be the Smith & Wesson N-frame, specifically the iconic model 29 and 44 Magnum, the Dirty Harry gun. But as the late 60s came around and police officers were trying to get more power out of their revolvers, 38 Special and the K-frame was fine, but 357 and a K-frame tended to destroy those guns in a hurry if you did a steady diet at 357. So the N-frame was born to take 357 Magnums and up, all the way to the 44 Magnum that at the time was the most powerful gun ever made. Handgun, anyway. And of course, the list wouldn't be complete, and this would be number one on, I think, everybody's list. It's the iconic 1911. A classic John Browning design, originally adopted by the U.S. military in 1911. Several manufacturers make these. This one happens to be a Para 1911 here, made in the States. There are even plenty of foreign countries that make 1911s. Classic 45 ACP round. Just a wonderful gun, kind of the grandfather to a lot of our pistols today. A lot of designs kind of came from this or were developed off of this particular gun. The 1911 is a classic Americana, and even all those years, from 1911 when we first introduced them to our military, there are still 1911s in the U.S. reserves, in the arsenals. There are still some 1911s out there serving. Most of them are on some of the smaller ships and stuff like that. The M9 didn't completely take away the 1911s, but we're still using them in military service today, although not in a main role like they had been for so many years. But the iconic 1911 just had to be on this list. Well, this is 45 Alpha Charlie Papa Channel. I just thought I'd do a quick top 5 today of 5 iconic American pistols. Thanks for watching.